family. Hey boss babes, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you can join me here for today's discussion, today's topic. So as you can see by the title is to change the narrative. Specifically, vulnerability. That's what I'm talking about today. That's right, being vulnerable. I noticed that so many of us have an issue with being vulnerable. I'm not sure if necessarily it's a cultural thing. I know for me, growing up in a Haitian American household, well, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, right? And then my parents were born in Haiti. I think it just sounds better saying Haitian American, but I might be American Haitian. I don't know, whatever. Shout out to all my Zoes anyway, right? So, yeah, growing up, I noticed that, in terms of expressing ourselves, expressing our emotions, that was not really a thing. But let me tell you what ended up happening and as to why I started to change my narrative. When I was in undergrad, I had a friend. Her name was Nikki. Shout out to Nikki. And just to let you know a little backstory about her, she used to say that she was a crybaby, right? So I'm not talking about her. This is what she was saying, right? And so I noticed that she would cry whenever she felt whatever it is that she was feeling. If she went through something, she would feel some type of way. Now, in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, I don't know. Like, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable. And part of me was just like, oh, it's not that serious, right? For me back then, because it wasn't a normal thing to necessarily cry and express my emotions like that. So I noticed when, if I would go visit her at her house or whatever, her parents and stuff, they would just embrace it. Like if she got a ticket and she was expressing herself and then she got upset and she would cry, they were just so welcoming, and just reassuring and all that other stuff. And I was just looking like, oh my gosh, this is actually dope. This is different. I'm not used to seeing it. So eventually, I want to say she broke me down, right? I started to accept it and say, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable. I think what ends up happening is like we have this notion in our minds that being strong, I want to say, it is like you not expressing yourself, right? You being like, oh, I'm gonna be good, I'm strong, I don't need anybody, whatever have you. And then maybe when you're going home, you cry or you let it out. But I want us to change the narrative in that we must accept being vulnerable and accept our feelings, right? Why not cry? Because to be honest, how many of y'all have cried? And I'm talking about that serious, ugly cry, like snot running down your nose, you rocking back and forth in a fetal position, that good cry. And then you end up falling asleep, right? And then when you wake up, you feel much better, right? And another thing I want us to remember that we're not getting any awards, right? I used to tell my mom that certain things she used to do. And I was like, Mom, okay, did you get an award for that? And she would just always laugh because really and truly, when you sit back and think about it, why are we doing that, right? Does that depict being strong? And to be quite honest, for me, now that I changed the narrative and I changed my mindset about it, I honestly think that being vulnerable is very strong, right? Because nobody does it, right? It's so easy to put on a front and be hardcore and all that other stuff, like not show my emotions, no, I'm good, right? But then when you're being vulnerable and showing your emotions and expressing yourself, that takes a lot more courage. And for me, I don't know about y'all, but I think that's very strong. Like I look at those who can express themselves as very, very strong, right? Because it's not easy. And, the world, if anything, doesn't really accept it or didn't accept it, I want to say, because again, we're changing the narrative. So I just want to encourage you all, right? Be vulnerable. It's okay. Understand that, one, it makes you feel better, right? But then I do want to put this disclaimer out there. Be careful as to who you're being vulnerable with, right? Because you may share something and that person does not treat that information properly, or maybe they may have a different reaction to you and you may feel uncomfortable. You may not like that reaction, right? Because then, maybe they're not used to it. Just like me, I wasn't used to, seeing somebody cry like that. And in my mind, I was just like, yikes, well, what is it that I need to do? Right? But now I am much different. As a matter of fact, I always share with people now what's called the feelings wheel, right? You can Google it. take a picture. And what it does is it allows you to express how you're feeling, because I can only imagine how you you may not be able to express how you feel, and because you can't express how you really feel, it's very frustrating, so you may shut down. But what the feelings wheel does is, like, you'll see the wheel, it'll have the words, and as it goes out, the circle gets bigger. It just shows the level of intensity, right? So angry, yeah, we can say, yeah, I'm angry, but then ultimately it'll say, like, I'm disappointed, or, you know, I'm just, you know, I felt let down. Like, there's just different words to show you how you really feel, and then you're able to articulate it. So with that being said, I just want to encourage each and every single one of you all to be vulnerable. I hope and pray that there's somebody out there that you can be vulnerable with. It's such a freeing experience. It's part of healing. It is putting you first, right? I just want to remind you again, you're not going to get an award for keeping this all bottled up. As a matter of fact, it just angers you even more. And like I've said before, the Bible says to guard your heart, but it doesn't say to harden your heart. And that's what's going to end up happening when you are not vulnerable, when you're not expressing yourself, right? But again, guarding your heart, right? Asking God for the discernment as to who you can trust your heart with and let it out and be vulnerable. Okay, change that narrative. Look at it as a strength, right? Because like I said, anybody could put up a front, right? Especially if we're so used to it. And my friend used to always tell me, shout out to Chance if you're watching, ain't no future in fronting. You're only hurting yourself. Why are you fronting? If you feel a way, you want to cry, cry. Okay, let it out. Discuss your feelings, articulate your feelings, right? We are changing the narrative. We are going to be stronger than ever, okay? We are all about healing, right? And we are going to do this together. So again, I just want to encourage you all, flip the switch. Think about it this way. Listen, being vulnerable takes more energy. It's a expression. It's me showing how strong I really am, okay? Not keeping it all bottled up inside, and then you become hard. Your heart becomes hard and you become bitter. You have an attitude. Now, we all about healing. Like I said, we're doing this thing called life together. We're on this journey together, and I want to help each and every single one of y'all. So we are going to change the narrative. We are going to be vulnerable. We're going to be vulnerable to the right people, right? And that's it. We're gonna go about our business and live a happy life, okay? So I hope this video has helped somebody and just gives you a different perspective as to how to look at it, right? And don't look at yourself as weak. You are strong. All right, guys, till next time, I love you all, and I'll see you soon. Bye.